Saeed is working as a cook in Paris when he's offered another job by a guy named Sammy, played by Sean Tobe, the one actor who didn't completely embarrass himself in The Last Airbender. But after meeting Sammy's wife Amira, he's attacked by the whole staff, and even someone as badass as Saeed can only last so long against 6 guys. Sammy tells him that Amira was tortured by the Republican Guard and recognized him when they walked by the restaurant. Saeed denies it, so Amira comes in and he gets beaten up for a while. Then she gives a big monologue about a stray cat that convinces Saeed to admit it was him who tortured her, to which Amira forgives him and lets him go, since she doesn't want to sink to his level. It's a pretty decent story, but unfortunately it's also pure filler, telling us nothing new about Saeed and never being referred to again. Hurley tells Sawyer about a ping-pong table from the Swan that they've been setting up on the beach, and then we're reminded that he's upset about everyone getting into his stash while he was away. Saeed again points out how stupid it is to be following a random quote carved into a stick, and really, why did Locke latch onto this thing so much? And it will be confirmed in this episode that it was actually right, so how did it work in the first place? Maybe if Echo was still alive this would have been answered, but he's not, and it's not. Saeed goes off and finds a shed with the eye patch guy out front. But enough of that, let's get back to ping pong. But first this.
Yeah, but it wasn't really yours to begin with.
A, it was mine when I took it. B, who the hell are you?
Remember when I talked about a theory I developed regarding those injections that Jack and Kate but not Sawyer had at the beginning of the season? Well, the time has come to reveal it. Up until this point, Rose and Bernard had made no appearances in Season 3, and at the same time we were presented with Nikki and Paolo, 2 people who we'd never seen before but everyone was acting like they'd always been there. So my mind went to, what if Desmond turning the failsafe key not only released the energy under the Swan, but somehow changed the past so that Rose and Bernard never got on the plane and their seats were instead taken by Nikki and Paolo. And then came the line we just heard, where Sawyer seems to have no idea who they are, and it won't be the last time he says something like that either. So I thought some more. Maybe the island was the only place affected by the change in the timeline and the people on Hydra Island still remembered things as they originally were. Except Ben had Jack and Kate injected with something that pushed the memories into the new timeline, while Sawyer was left alone and is the only one who remembers things as they used to be. Why would Ben do this? Hell if I know, but I'm still pretty proud of this whole thought process, and it was a huge disappointment that none of it meant anything. The injections will never be explained, and neither will these moments where Sawyer asks who Nikki and Paolo are. It's just more random crap that means nothing. Another bullseye. Sawyer bets everyone for all his stuff back if he wins a ping pong game, and if he loses he won't be able to give anyone nicknames for a week. Back in the plot you might conceivably care about, Saeed decides to just walk up to Patchy and ask who he is. Danielle leaves because she's not interested in any of this. Translation, Mira Furlan was starting to get disillusioned with the show and didn't want to spend more than a couple days at a time on it. Saeed's plan gets him shot in the arm, and Patchy starts shouting like he thinks Saeed's an other. When Kate and Locke come out, he introduces himself as Mikhail, the last survivor of the Dharma Initiative. Although I'd like to amend that to William Hartnell Mikhail for reasons that will be clear over the rest of the season. He says this place is called the Flame, and it's used for communicating off the island, but it hasn't worked in years. He didn't join Dharma's attack against the others, so they let him stay here. As Saeed is worked on, Locke has become obsessed with a computer chess game. Yes, really. Even for him, this is just weird. And of course he uses this as an excuse to soapbox about how only humans can cheat. Thank you for that, no one was asking. And while he's been wasting his time with that, Saeed has figured out that Mikhail is one of the others, something so obvious that the first time I watched the episode, I didn't even realize it was supposed to be a twist. There's a bit more of the ping-pong, but no one cares, so I'll skip it and get to us finally getting the explanation for that cable that first led Saeed to Danielle. It runs from the Flame to an underwater station that helps submarines get to the island. And then Mikhail drops the act and they fight for a while, all while Locke continues to play chess. I'm so glad he came along on this trip. And boy, Evangeline Lilly is trying so hard to look hot with that gun, but all I can think of is that someone threatened her with taco night. Thanks, writers. The fun continues when Saeed points out the signs that someone else is here.
Well, if there's someone else here, they're hiding pretty good. I checked every nook and cranny of this place.
Oh, that's so wonderfully embarrassing. Saeed and Kate go down the trapdoor and find that the whole place is wired with C4, while Locke stays behind to watch Mikhail until he's distracted by the chess game. Yes, really. John, you have an addiction. Get some help. He wins the game, although it's pretty hard to ignore that what we see on the screen isn't actually a checkmate. Cheating bitch. How often do you get to make that reference? Never. This triggers a program to control the systems in the flame, which brings up the question, did the Dharma people need to beat this game every single time they wanted to use the station? It's no wonder they were all wiped out with thinking like that. Presented with this computer system he knows nothing about, Locke decides it would be a good idea to push random buttons. Yes, really. I don't have to say anything at this point. The episode's doing a fine job of destroying any respect anyone might still have for him on its own. Before he can enter the code for an attack by the others, Mikhail puts a knife to his throat. I did warn you not to trust me. It turns out the other person in the building is none other than Ms. Clue, who kicks Kate's ass. But then Saeed is his usual awesome self and gets the drop on her. This leads to a standoff that ends when Ms. Clue tells Mikhail to kill her. So you went to the trouble of bringing this character back just to give her barely any lines and kill her off, leaving open all our questions about who she was and what she thought was worth torturing a kid for. That's countdown to Final Crisis level writing right there. And it crosses into unfortunate implications territory when you consider that she was the only black other, especially with Harold Perrineau's own complaints about his role in the next season. Mikhail tells Saeed to kill him, but he doesn't. Then it's back to ping pong, where it turns out Hurley has crazy Chinese-level skills at the game and beats Sawyer. But then he gives him some porn, so it's okay, and we can just continue to wonder why we had to watch any of this. Danielle has now come back, and Mikhail says that what he told them about Dharma attacking the others was true in an attempt to make them look like the good guys some more. Except it's not true, as we'll later learn the others killed Dharma with poison gas.
We're the good guys, Michael.
Saeed reveals that he found a map to the others' home in the basement, and Danielle asks why they shouldn't just kill Mikhail then. Saeed refuses to because of what he learned in the flashback, which is complete bullshit. Saeed wasn't going to do anything to Amira if she let him live, and Mikhail's just said he'll kill them all if they let him live, so I'd say the rules are a bit different. And then Locke enters the code for the others invading, which blows the place up and lets the others know where they are, so they have to run. Character assassination complete. My score for Enter 7-7 is 7 out of 10. Kind of fitting, I guess. A lot of it does work well, but there's just a few things that really keep it from a higher grade. Chief among them is the whole ping-pong subplot, which doesn't even try to convince us that it has any point. Bringing back Ms. Clue just to kill her off still doesn't sit right with me, especially knowing that she'll never even be mentioned again. And of course, this is perhaps the worst that Locke has ever looked up until now, even more than Hearts and Minds. But I was already so alienated from him that part didn't get to me so much. And if nothing else, it does announce that the protagonists will actually be doing something now, rather than just hanging out on the beach and relaxing. That's been a long time coming.